Hey, good evening to everybody not watching Saints Panthers, which I assume is almost everybody. Gabe DeArmond here. State of the Tigers, our weekly Monday night show brought to you by James Carlton, State Farm at carltoninsurance.net. James Carlton, first of all, he wants to be your insurance agent. He's going to do everything he can to get you the best deals possible. And he's also going to help out the University of Missouri and its efforts in name, image, and likeness while he does it. If you get in touch with James at carltoninsurance.net or by phone at 314-961-4800, you mention this show, you get a quote from him. He is going to donate $20 to Mizzou's NIL efforts. I know he's been working with Luther Burden. Big Mizzou fan. I was on the radio with him this morning. So get in touch with James. Do him a favor. Do yourself a favor. Do Mizzou a favor in the process. And with that, we are going to bring in Jarod Hamilton to the show that predicted this all along, that completely knew exactly that Eli Drinkwitz was sandbagging and that he was going to unleash this offense and that Brady Cook was going to turn into a superstar quarterback who just kept hitting 20-yard passes. And then Missouri was going to beat Kansas State. I mean, I challenge anybody to find anything that says you and I didn't call this one exactly how it went, right?
Exactly. We 2-0 back-to-back weeks. We are 3-0. We got it. We came out jumping these first 3 weeks. But that was crazy. No one could have predicted that or that ending. Like 61 yards. That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. So let's start there. I mean, when he trotted out there, it didn't really cross my mind he was going to make it. Like, I didn't think it was completely impossible, but I just thought, nah, this is pretty unlikely, man. He's probably not making this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we didn't know it until after post game, but like when he missed the 53-yarder, I couldn't exactly tell where the ball went, but it felt like it kind of was dying wherever it landed. I couldn't see from where I was at, but he told us that basically he stubbed his toe essentially before he made the kick. So that's why it looked like that. We didn't know 61 was the thing. I know right before fall camp ended, I asked him, like, what do you think the farthest is? And he's like, I mean, real 70 something plus, I don't know. He was like, I don't know if I'll be in that situation, but I think I can make it from there. And I'm just like, oh, I wonder if every kicker thinks that way.
He probably, I mean, like, I think he could make a 70-yarder in warmups with nobody in front of him, but I think you have to kick that so low. I'm not sure you can get it there. I mean, like, we've all seen the angles of where that ball went over the crossbar. Like, I think it's probably good from 62. I think it's possible it was good from 63. It was not good from any more than that.
63, I think, is pushing. I think 62 it has to doink on a crossbar, get the right type of.
I was thinking 63, it might hit the crossbar and get over, but definitely not more than that.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, we said, I mean, literally, you can back this up. Right before the game, what did I say? I said this is going to be a one-score game in the fourth quarter. And the reason I picked Kansas State is because I haven't seen Missouri make the plays to win that game. And exactly. All credit to them. They went out and did what we said we needed to see them do. And and I'm not going to pick you to do it until I see you do it. And now they've done it. And if they're in that situation next time, hey, maybe they'll do it again.
Exactly. That's how that's sports. I was actually doing some work earlier. Had First Take on in the background, which typically I don't ever have the TV on or watch that really, but I just had it on to have it on and heard Ryan Clark. I heard Shannon Sharp basically say, fans and media, we kind of judge, players and stuff after we see them do it. Like that's when you become a believer. Like you didn't believe Tom Brady when he got drafted. You saw some things and you were like, oh, okay, he's the guy. And that's kind of what it felt like for this particular game. We didn't know if the offense could do what it did until we said, oh, here's proof. Because you can only go on what you've seen up to that point.
And look, I want to be clear. There were some people that absolutely were predicting that. But, like, here's the difference. Here's the difference in viewpoints for all you guys watching. Like, you are fans. You are emotionally invested in this. And I'm not going to say that nobody believed Missouri could win. But, like, you are emotionally predisposed to think the best going into that game. And so, I think a lot of people were talking with their hearts a little bit. And hey, it turned out to be exactly right. So kudos. But I guess my point is, obviously we didn't see this coming, but I don't really feel bad that I didn't see it coming. I mean,
Exactly.
good for them, man.
Yeah, like it's not like we were saying this versus like they would lose to MTSU. I mean, I said it'd be close, but didn't say they'd lose. It's not like we said this versus South Dakota. We said there was a possibility. It wasn't like we were saying they got zero shot, but us and a lot of the media in both, both sides covering K-State and Missouri thought, K-State will pull it out. So I don't feel bad that I didn't pick them. They showed me something that I didn't see, which is exactly what I said in the preview I needed to see.
So after watching that game, do you think Missouri is better than you thought it was? Do you think K-State is worse than you thought it was? Do you think one or both or neither of those things?
I think Missouri is better than I previously thought. I also thought K-State, I was doing some radio earlier today. I think K-State was justified in their top 25 rankings. I didn't know until I was on the radio that they dropped out of the top 25. I didn't know that. But I thought it was a quality team. And after what they did last year, I mean, it makes sense to believe that. Missouri, I think their floor now to me is 7-5. And now they've moved to me where 8-4 needs to be like kind of where they fit in. I think 9-3 is very much in play. And I think their ceiling now is 10-2. And, you asked me this a week ago. I thought they were a 7-5 team with 9-3 being their ceiling. So I think they've just moved up a spot.
Yeah, I think Missouri's ceiling is higher than I thought it was. And I don't know if K-State is worse than I thought it was. K-State was worse on that day than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's how
I think K-State is a top 25-ish team. But here's what surprised me about that game. And I don't want this to be taken as me taking anything away from Missouri, because we'll talk about this. I don't think Missouri played an A game either. But for all this is a sideline mismatch. Kleiman's a better coach. His team never beats itself. And look, I said some of those things. Eli Drinkwitz wasn't perfect, but I thought he was better than Chris Kleiman on Saturday. I thought Chris Kleiman mismanaged the end of the first half. His team got to delay a game when it could have taken the lead with the touchdown. They had a penalty on the last play, which obviously didn't end up mattering. They kept throwing Avery Johnson out there and just running the same play. Like I thought, I didn't think Kleiman coached a great game on Saturday.
And in a way, though, that's why I think K-State is still pretty solid. I mean,
yeah, I think
they lost on a 61-yarder, and that last from both coaches, that last 2 minutes, horrendous, pretty much.
I would say about the last 6 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was a pretty bad stretch, but yeah, I mean, they won the game, and Missouri won the game based off Drink's expertise, which is the offensive side of the ball. That's his side of the ball. Him and Kirby Moore won it. Usually you're saying Missouri won the game, and you're saying it's because of Blake Baker and that defense. And this time it was the offense, and it was still the defense handling business when they needed to. It wasn't as pretty as how it usually is for the defense, but I say Drink won this battle.
So we talked about a little bit in the couple minutes before we came on air. Going in, I think I had said last week maybe that, like, look, Missouri doesn't necessarily have to play an A game to win this. Like the gap was not so big between the teams that, like, I could see a B effort winning that game. I don't know. Did you do an overall grade? Do you do like an overall grade on Sunday? Or did you?
I didn't do an overall. I did. I mean, for coaching, I put A-, and when I think of after I put it, I probably would have given it maybe more of a B just because of the defense and 27 points. That's still pretty, like, that would have been a great day for the defense to come and show something. But I was so much thinking about the offensive side of the ball, so many new things that we saw, so many deep plays and things where you're just like, okay, so much, like they had 9 different pass catchers targeted. 5 of those receivers, got a couple tight ends in the mix. It actually looked like, wow, 11 on 11 offense. And like, I'm not trying to be funny. I feel like last year it was 10 on 11 so many times because tight ends weren't being involved, or it's only going to 2 receivers, So I'd say it's probably more towards a B for the coaching, but I didn't have an overall pick for the whole thing.
Well, because my thought was I would say Missouri played a B to B plus game overall. You think that's fair?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that range, and they beat a top 15 team with a B to B plus game, partly because I would say K-State played a, I don't know, C plus game.
Yeah, I was going to say B minus.
Maybe B minus. Yeah. So they played a little bit better, but I think there was this thought going in. I heard some people say if they play 10 times, K-State wins 7 or 8. After watching those two teams, I think they might be 5-5 if they played 10 times. I don't think there's much of a difference between those teams.
More or less, yeah. I do think, like when I was writing up 4 Down Territory earlier today, I was thinking, wow, so during basically the first 2 games was just like, oh, I got a good decoy. I'm going to run the same offense I ran last year, completely caught Chris Kleiman and Joe Klanderman off guard. Didn't have a clue early on as to what to do to stop that Missouri offense. And throughout the game, you just kept seeing different things here and there, stuff that you've never seen or haven't seen in quite a while from this offense. So I think that's about right.
Yeah. And like Missouri left some out there. I mean, I thought at halftime Missouri could add 4 interceptions. Honestly, Will Howard put some balls out that J.C. Carlisle's he didn't really drop one, but had one he could have gotten. There was another deflection that could have been picked. I even the deflection in the end zone that Carlisle's tipped, and I mean that's just bad luck that it's a touchdown instead of a pick. They miss a field goal. I guess my point is, I think
both teams missed the field goal too.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think the best news for Missouri is that they won that game, but there is a lot that Eli Drinkwitz can tell his team this week that, hey, this part's got to get better.
Yeah. I think also, obviously, confidence boost to the 2 people who probably need the most in Brady Cook and Harrison Mevis. Not saying they don't have confidence, but I'm just saying to play the way they did and come up huge the way they did, like you feel so much better because just a week and a half ago, like right after that MTSU game, somebody asked about, or I think it was me, I asked about the special teams or something like that, and he said he was concerned. And so to go from concerned to 61-yarder, that's good. To go from kind of like vanilla, are we sure this is a different type of offense, to career day for Brady Cook? And I keep thinking about this, 14 of 22 for 170 and a touchdown after he sprained his knee. That's big time.
Yeah. And I mean, nobody raised their ceiling more than Brady Cook. Because what did we say all along? Like, I haven't seen him be the reason the team won a game, right? Like, he hasn't necessarily been the reason they lost always, but I hadn't seen him go out and winning. If you make a list of 10 reasons Missouri won that game, Brady Cook is no lower than 3, and I would say probably 1. I mean, Mevis is there, Burden is there.
Yeah. First 2 you can count. Mevis, to me, it's Mevis and Cook, whatever order. I personally think Cook because he played the whole game. Obviously, he fought through the injury, and he got him to the position where Mevis can even attempt something like that. So I'd personally say Cook, but either way.
So we talked about the offense a little bit. I know that we've got some questions about that. The spread concepts looked good. Do you think the coaching staff sticks with more aggressive game plan? So here is the fascinating part about this to me. Like, we knew that they hadn't showed everything, but I don't know a better way to put it than that takes some balls to be in a 4-point game with Middle Tennessee. And like I said on another podcast I recorded earlier today, do you think at some point in the last 10 minutes against Middle Tennessee, like somebody said, hey, do you think like we don't got to open up the whole playbook, but maybe should we go to chapter 2 here for a minute? But credit to them. They just kept reading that same page and they got here at 2-0. So I don't say that to discredit them, power to them. They clearly thought, hey, we can just run like 9 plays and we can be 2-0. And they are. They were.
Yeah, so what was it? What was the score? The score is 23-19. I'm trying to think if MTSU scores 7. Okay, because I'm thinking like, what is if MTSU scores on that last drive? Yeah, do they go to chapter 2, or do they just try to say, we can get we can get at least a field goal by still doing what we're doing? Like, I'm just thinking that. But with this question, someone asked about can they win the 17 to 21 points? I think you keep maybe what you were doing a little bit. Don't eliminate everything, but the offense you showed versus Kansas State, bring that.
This is your offense now.
Yeah, you take that to St. Louis, and you can beat Memphis with that, and keep some stuff from last year. I don't think you have to keep. Kansas State is obviously way better than Memphis, so you don't need to expose too much. Maybe a play or two there, but I don't think you got to unload a whole nother chapter for Memphis.
Right, but the point being that the reason it was so effective against Kansas State was you hadn't shown it, right?
Right.
I mean, they go in there and they don't know if you can do what you did in the first quarter against them. Well, now it's on film. Everybody's seen it. There's nothing to hide now. Every coach is going to look at that film and know kind of what you're trying to do. So you've got to find some other wrinkles, but there's no point to go back to, in the first 2 games, I want to say that Cody Schrader and Nate Pete averaged somewhere around 30 carries between them in the first 2 games. They had 17 on Saturday. And I posted some numbers last week that I think Missouri's biggest problem wasn't how deep they were throwing or how many they were completing. It was just that they weren't throwing nearly enough. And they opened it up, and they did. They let Brady Cook throw the ball around the field, and it was effective.
Yeah, that's what did he throw? 35 passes to, what did you just say, 17 rushes?
17 rushes.
Yeah, that's probably the
17
ratio.
running back rushes. Yeah.
That's probably the ratio Kirby Moore and Drink want, especially with the talent they got at receiver, because we was wondering the first couple of games, like, you've been talking about these receivers all off season. Why aren't you using them? Where are you going to use them? How are you going to use them? And so, yeah, they definitely need to pass the ball more, and Brady looked good doing it. So,
and as good as Luther was, like, the reason that the team was good was Mookie Cooper was involved. Theo Weiss was the guy that put him in field goal range at the end. Marquise Johnson shows up with a huge downfield pass. Brett Norfleet made probably the biggest catch or the best catch of the game, and my favorite play of that game was I think it was like 4th and goal on the 2. And they send Luther in the jet sweep motion behind Brady Cook, and everybody follows him, and Brady keeps it and runs in for the touchdown. I mean, that's how a guy like Luther Burden impacts the game without the ball in his hands.
Right. And I was writing earlier, just like, I didn't think he'd get 1,000 yards this year, not because he's clearly capable of doing that, but just because of the talent. And now you see what happens when everybody gets involved and you use everybody's strengths and stuff like that. Like, not as much pressure on Brady Cook, not as much pressure on Luther Burden. Everybody is going to be happy, and you're putting defenses on their toes a lot more than you were.
The best players make other players better just by being there, right? I mean, I know yesterday didn't prove it in the Chiefs-Jags game, but like, those other guys on that offense are better when Travis Kelce is on the field, because Travis Kelce has to be accounted for. That Luther Burden will be that way in this offense. Dan McCullough is asking where things stand on the injury front. We don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. I mean, at this point, unless
we will ask tomorrow, but I don't know if they're going to give it to us.
Yeah. But like, unless it just swelled way up after the game, I'm assuming Brady's fine. He looked pretty fine in the 4th quarter. Marcellus Johnson is really the one that I think we kind of wonder about.
Wasn't there? I feel like there was somebody on defense. So maybe I'm tripping. I felt like I thought I was saying maybe another person on a defense, or maybe like a offensive defense line. I feel like I saw somebody else besides.
I mean, Xavier Delgado went down for one play, but he literally missed one snap.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but Marcellus Johnson, I mean, while we're talking about it, I mean, I wasn't even – he played about 30 snaps before he got hurt, and then Cameron Johnson came in for the last 35. And, hey, maybe they just found Marcellus's position, because like I'm not saying they were great, but he seemed to do all right. Like I never thought, oh man, this dude is hurting them at right guard.
I think I'll put it like this. I didn't notice him too much, which is a good thing with offensive line. Like I didn't think, that's a penalty or dang, somebody's gonna be. I will say though, the whole offensive line kind of struggled in run blocking. Like they couldn't really set nothing up for the running backs. The running backs couldn't go nowhere, so that was tough. But yeah, I didn't see like a huge problem.
Yeah. And again, Britt's asking about Brady's knee. I mean,
he said he was fine in the post
if it's
game.
hurt, keep it hurt, man, because he was good in the fourth quarter. And I think that third quarter, and Drink said as much, was kind of about them figuring out what can he do. Like, can we run him the way we've been running him? If not, what can he do? And Drink said he went to him and said, look, I know you're not going to take yourself out of the game, but you've got to tell me now. If you can't help us win this game, you've got to tell me now. And Brady obviously said, I can. And I think at that point, that was Drink's cue and Kirby Moore's cue to just say, all right, we're no limitations. We're running the offense. If he can't do it, we'll figure it out because of his health. But we are running the offense and letting him go. And I don't think they did that in the third quarter. I think they backed off kind of almost as a precaution. And then, hey, fourth quarter, I don't know what his fourth quarter numbers were, but I know they were pretty good.
Yeah, real quick to go back to Marcellus Johnson. Actually, according to PFF, he had the highest pass blocking grade at 80.7. So when he was out there, it had good protection. Now everybody, like I said, everybody kind of had some struggles, except Javon Foster and
Foster had a false start at one point, though. I remember.
Yeah. Hold on, let me.
But, yeah. Josh Randall wanted to take on this. Is Rakestraw taking a jump over KAD? KAD's getting stats because he's being targeted, but I feel like Rakestraw isn't getting stats because he's locking this guy up. And so that's always hard to judge as a cornerback, especially without all 22 film. Like, I don't know. And also, who's defending the other team's best receiver? I mean that impacts it. Like Missouri is going to throw the ball to Luther Burden regardless of which corner from the other team is covering him. I thought Chris Abrams-Drain was probably the second best defensive player Missouri had on Saturday.
Yeah, they did say he gave up a touchdown. It was, and I can't remember what it was.
I know he had a pick and he prevented a touchdown too.
Yeah, he had two pass breakups. I'll say this. To me, the corners are closer to 1 and a 1A more than a 2, at least on this team. Like if you go back to Rakestraw's stats last year, I can argue they were better than KAD's because like he had an interception, had a forced fumble, he had like fumble cover, like he had more, other stats, and he only had 2 less pass deflections. On the other hand, KAD is usually guarding the team's number 1, and he played big time and got the team's first takeaway of the year. So
Scott Jones says 5-0 and then LSU. I mean, that's the goal, obviously, and they'll be expected to. They're a 7-point favorite over Memphis. I bet they'll be a little bit bigger than that over Vandy. But look, Memphis is – so here's the challenge. It's easy to get a team to be up for games like Saturday, right? They beat your ass last year. It's kind of this regional rivalry. It's a game your fan base and your players have been pointing to for a year. It's not – if you can't get up for that game, you shouldn't play college football. Getting up for this one's a little tougher. It's going to be kind of a weird environment. It's a neutral site game. Memphis is a team where you're not going to get any credit if you beat them, but they are good enough to beat you on the right day.
Yeah, it's just definitely going to be weird. And, like kind of how you was mentioning, the carryover from like big game to, let's be honest, Memphis and Vanderbilt, like you could kind of see like looking over just a little bit, like looking at LSU, kind of just thinking about them just a little bit more. But I think they'll be fine the next couple of weeks, especially if they keep playing this type of offense and the defense goes back to what we've seen them to be.
Yeah, and Tad Danner asked the pessimistic view of that. What's it mean if we lose to Memphis? Well, what it means is Saturday kind of goes out the window. You gave it all back. So that can't happen.
Yeah, pretty much. You canceled it out. I mean, you got the better win, but it's not the loss you want.
Right. Kyle saying, I think getting Bailey back this week would help the defense. He played 23 snaps last week.
He
I
was
think
out
Chuck
there.
Hicks played, I don't know, 35 or 40, somewhere in that range. But yeah, getting Bailey back as another option helps keep Hicks fresh. But I think Chuck Hicks has played really well.
Chuck Hicks has played well. They each only had, I think, one tackle. I'm going to check on with the defense at PFF real quick. They each had one tackle. I think this felt like kind of just getting his feet wet for Chad a little bit to me.
Yeah,
but I mean, Chuck has been playing well. So if they can got a nice little rotation in the linebacker room, that helps. I mean, better than just rushing Chad out there and risking, re-injuring whatever he's got going on.
Yep. It's Carlisle's overrated, seems a tad late and seems to give up big plays habitually. I think going into last year, we thought Jalen Carlisle was going to go pro, and he didn't. And I think last year is a reason for that. Yeah, he's got to prove that the play matches the tools, right?
Yeah, we was kind of talking about this in the press box. There was one, I think it was like a crosser or a post route where he just stopped the guy at the goal line. And I was like, did he get beat or was he just stuck? And when I mean stuck, was he just stuck in his free safety spot and kind of went late, reacted late to the play? And it looked like he was just kind of reacting late to the play. Now he's obviously athletic enough to hawk the guy down. But yeah, it just feels like there's times where you're just like, man, I don't know if he's like getting it all the way sometimes with, coverages or something like that. Because he definitely has, like, he looks like an NFL player for sure. But then he has games like versus Tennessee and this game where it says he was part of the reason for 2 touchdowns. Like you said, that first one was a kind of a fluke play, but you just wonder, like, you expect more.
Yeah. All right. Let's. We've had a couple of questions along these lines. Big reason the ceiling's raised is because the SEC stinks. Besides Georgia, there isn't a team they can't beat. I mean, look, South Carolina had Georgia down 14-3. Like, I think Georgia is. If I'm ranking the SEC, number one's easy. Georgia's still number one.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're not invincible. They're not the last couple years, Georgia. Now they may be at some point this year, but I don't think they are right now. I think number 14 is pretty clearly Vanderbilt. They're the worst team in this league. But 2 to 13, I mean, I don't know. LSU's probably 2. A&M or Ole Miss is probably 3. But those are not teams I look at and say that even I think most people would have said Tennessee was 3 or 4 and Florida was 11 or 12, and Florida dominated. My point is 2 to 13, throw them in a hat on any given day, man.
Yeah, I really got nothing to say. That sums up my thoughts exactly.
And I think it is certainly possible that Georgia loses a game in the regular season, which is weird because Georgia's schedule kind of sucks.
I was about to say, I've got to see who they even play.
I know they don't play a ranked team until November. Now, that could change, like if Missouri works its way into the top 25 by the time of that game or whatever. But, I mean, they're not supposed to play a team that's in the rankings until November. So, I guess Florida's number 25 now, which I'll be honest, man. I don't know if much of anybody in college football is good. Like real, like high level good. This would be a fun ass year for a 12-team playoff because I think this is one of the very few years that like 11 could really beat 3.
Right. Like one more year, and also Oklahoma and Texas come. It's going to be big things going on just overall in college football. Not just Oklahoma and Texas, but stuff in the Big Ten. Everything's going crazy.
Yeah, no question. Let's see. Does Mizzou win that game without a sold out crowd? I mean, maybe, but it didn't hurt. I don't know. It's possible that the 50, however many thousand Mizzou fans, because there was a little pocket of purple, but maybe all the fans were just blowing south and kind of help Memphis football a kick over the goalposts there.
I mean, like you said, it couldn't hurt. It didn't hurt K-State last year when they won. Now, I do think they were a better team, but again, my point, that probably helps. Yeah, you heard it. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And look, there's a reason home field advantage is a thing. thing I like most about Baker's defense is the intent to scare the hell out of the opposing quarterback. They aren't afraid. I mean, we noticed it immediately, Jarod. Their first 3 third downs, they brought like 6, 7, and 5. And then I thought the biggest defensive play of the game, and I can't remember if it was the 3rd and goal or if it was, back more toward midfield, but there was a play where Missouri really needed a stop. And they only rushed 4, but one of them was Dalen Carnell, and they dropped a defensive lineman back into coverage to replace him. Like, Blake Baker's a hell of a defensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, he's exciting. He's just exciting, and those type of things. It's the evolution of the defense. Again, last year was vanilla. This year, kind of starting to show a little bit more of what they can do.
Yeah, we're getting a few questions about ticket sales this coming weekend. I do know they've sold a couple thousand since Memphis made that kick. That has certainly helped. I posted on the board today, the capacity for this game is not 66,000. A decent chunk of the dome is going to be kind of closed off. So the most they can have for this game is like in the mid to high 30s. I don't know if they'll get there or not. Got a few more days left. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like. It's going to be mostly Missouri fans. Memphis is going to have about 1,000 people there from what I'm hearing. So I don't think I think it will be everything. Let's put it this way. I think there were more K-State fans at Furrow last week than there are going to be Memphis fans at the Dome this week.
I believe it.
Yeah. Let's see. What's the chance we see DJ Wesselak play this year? I'd say about 0. Because Johnny Walker and Darius Robinson are playing a whole lot, man.
Yep. And they also like Niles Gaddy.
Yeah, he's played well.
Joe Moore's
snaps.
No, I've seen him play, but I haven't seen nothing where like his spot is solidified, maybe. Necessarily, at least at this point. It's only been 3 games, but
and I think he's only averaging about 6 to 8 snaps a game. I mean, they're primarily playing 3 guys at defensive end. Like Johnny Walker is 2nd or 3rd on the team in snaps, so he's playing a lot. Too. Yeah. And I think kind of gets forgotten because of the penalty, and it was a good call, but like Niles Gaddy blew up a big play on K-State's last drive, but it didn't count because he got his hand in the face mask and ended up giving up 15 yards, which happens. Let's see. Trying to roll through some of these questions. We need a 5-star running back. I don't see anyone on the roster with breakaway speed. Yeah, I'd still like to see. I feel like this would be a good week to maybe give Jamal Roberts a few carries in his hometown.
Yeah,
just see what the kid's got.
Get Tavoris Jones out there too. He's a pretty quick guy as well. I mean, if the offense is humming like this, I mean, why not spread some of those carries out? Not only just versus Memphis, versus Vandy too. If you want to save up Schrader and Pete or whatever, because I want to say this past week for practice, I seen Schrader was in a green, like a non-contact jersey and stuff, just because of how many touches he had. If you want to kind of save those guys up for the LSU game or whatever, this would be a great time to get those 2 involved.
And like, you know what? Cody Schrader, credit to the kid, man. Missouri had 31 yards rushing all day, and then he popped off a 35-yard run that kickstarted that touchdown drive that gave him the lead. Like, that was a big play, I thought. Man at Arms is asking about Marquise Gracial. He's just they brought back their top 5 defensive tackles from last year. There's just not playing time there right now.
Yeah, they're same goes for Jalen Marshall. Same goes for Kai Montgomery. Like, we're not gonna know whether they're doing good or bad. Let's just be positive, assume they're doing well. But with all the guys they brought back in, and like look at Josh Landry. Like he was in the starting lineup this week, and he's been playing well. Drink ended, fall camp pressure saying he's been one of the top 2 defensive tackles at times during camp, and you kind of seen that on Saturday with some of the pressure he was getting.
And that's the deepest position on the team. It's just not a place where a young guy is going to get many chances. But next year,
they got like
4 are all gone.
Yeah, they got like 4, I want to say, who are gone, except like I think it's Christian Williams who isn't.
I think Christian Williams could come back, but maybe not. We'll see. Like I think he'll have an opportunity to get drafted maybe after this year.
But he did lose his starting spot. I'm pretty sure Landry was the
I
one
think it was Landry and Jernigan on Saturday.
who were starting, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah,
But I also think Christian Williams had the most snaps of all defensive tackles.
okay.
So, which is probably a just as good a way to judge it, if not better. So
Yeah, I was about to say how their rotations, it don't really matter too much who they start. Like if any position on the team starting doesn't mean as much because of how they run their rotation. But
right. So any just kind of initial, I don't know if you've like taken a look at all at Memphis. Any initial thoughts on this week other than kind of what we've talked about? You can't have a letdown.
I haven't got to look at Memphis yet. That's probably something I'll start doing Wednesday because tomorrow's just going to be Missouri players, press conference, all that stuff. But Wednesday is probably the time I'll get a chance to look at them. So I'm not going to tell you I've seen them play Navy or whoever else. But just the thing I keep thinking about that most impressed me about this past game was the 9 plays of 15 yards or more and the fact that all 6 scoring drives were 3 minutes and 4 seconds or less. So like when they're going, they're going. Like that's a good sign that you know your up tempo, your fast offense, or your deep players are kind of connecting, and it feels like at any moment you can put points on the board, and it doesn't have to be such a sustained long drive. Although you like those, sometimes it's cool to be like, all right, we can have a 2-play drive with like that Cody Schrader 37-yard run, and then I think it was Luther Burden with the 26-yard touchdown after that. Like those are good things to have.
Yeah. Somebody's asking about Dennis Jackson. I mean, he's playing a handful of snaps, but he dropped what had a chance to be a touchdown pass.
Yeah, he had one guy to miss, and the thing they like most about him is give him the ball in space and let him try to make someone miss. And he dropped the ball basically trying to turn before he already had it and incomplete.
And look, it's tough when you're not getting a lot of opportunities, to be ready for that opportunity. But the way you earn it is to make that play. Last one here, Kevin Smith. You guys touched on it Saturday on the post-game show. Any concerns about missed tackles?
They had 14, according to PFF, and Tyron Hopper, while he was the best player on the field, he had 4 of those. They had 4 guys with at least 2 missed tackles or more. It's not like a huge worry, but I will say dating back to last year, anytime the defense has kind of a poor day, it usually starts with tackling and missing a lot of them. So they just kind of got to lock in on that. But I don't think it's like a week-to-week thing to worry about.
Yeah, there were a couple drives that they could have gotten out of sooner. But again, that goes back to what we're talking about. They didn't play an A game. They played well, but they can be better than they were on Saturday. And there will be times this season that they have to. So Jarod's got 4 down territory coming in the morning. Hope you guys I had 10 thoughts this morning. Hope maybe you checked out the story on Martez Manuel and his girlfriend. Kind of a different tack with that one, but hope you guys check that out. And we'll have all kinds of stuff. We will be at the Dome on Saturday evening. We'll have another show on Thursday with Brian Moss from our Memphis site, previewing Tigers versus Tigers. So I don't know, Jarod. I know you're fired up to go see Panther Saints, man. So we're gonna let you get to it.
Yeah, no, I'm not fired up, but it is on, so I will watch it.
Why are people watching? Because it's on TV.
So. Exactly.
All right, man. Have a good one. Thanks to Jarod for spending some time with us. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We're pretty regularly getting about 150 people on here on these Monday night shows. So we do appreciate you guys taking some time out of your Monday nights to join us live. If you're here, do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you do that, you're going to get notifications when we go live so that whenever it is after a game or on Thursday afternoons, Monday nights, whatever it might be, that you'll just get a push notification. You won't have to sit around here and wait or check the site to know when it's going to happen. Want to remind you before you go that your next click should be carltoninsurance.net, or if you'd prefer the phone, 314-961-4800. That's going to put you in touch with James Carlton State Farm in Webster Groves, Missouri. If you live in Missouri, you live in Illinois, we all need insurance. Everybody does. if you've managed to get by without it this long, quit taking a risk. Get in touch with James Carlton. He's going to give you the best deal he can give you. He's going to hook you up with the most competitive rates he possibly can. And he's also, if you talk to him and get a quote, he's going to donate $20 to Mizzou's NIL collective. And you've started to see some nice impacts there. So every little bit helps, and James has been doing his part. And guys, thanks for doing your part. Appreciate you hanging out. We'll talk to you next time.